found us. More podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply. Find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. Now.
Well, I don't know if you were really looking for us, but you found us. You found more podcast. Yeah, it's a for real thing. I don't know if you've heard the rumors, but it is for real. 3 guys in the church that just happen to be all pastors, hang out every week, and we talk about a lot of things.
Yeah,
a lot of different things that come up. So as we're getting ready to start, it's pretty interesting. Pastor Gary comes walking in with a bag full of goodies.
Yeah, so I was gone last week, and I'm sorry that I missed it, but you guys held the fort down. And I was given an assignment when I went on this little trip to Canada to come back with some prizes. If you guys remember from about 2 weeks ago on the show.
So these are Canadian prizes?
So these are Canadian prizes. So I had to claim them when I came across the border.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, they're like, do you have anything to claim? And I'm like, yes, I have bacon boxer shorts that Pastor Alex got. And then I have some Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe socks for Pastor Ted. So
yes, sir.
If he wears nice short pants on a Sunday morning, you might be able to see them.
I think you should.
And then we got all kinds of prizes here in the prize bag. We've got bacon long, like pajama bottoms.
Yep.
And then we got
pants,
4 pair of bacon socks. So
that's awesome.
We've got great prizes coming up for the next month or so.
Thanks, PG.
Yeah, these are good. Thanks a lot.
It was really good. I went to it's called the Forest Adventure store, I think, up there in Thessalon, Canada.
Yeah.
We make our little pilgrimage to that particular store because we get a good deal on maple syrup.
Oh, really?
So we know you love maple syrup. Yeah.
Coffee every morning with maple syrup.
Yeah. You drink it.
Do you like buy it by the barrel?
It's the gallon size. We do buy them by the gallon size. I think it's like $65 a gallon, something like that.
He drinks it like pop.
Yeah.
I do. My grandkids are like chug it every time. And then it's just so good to take a nice big mouthful of maple syrup and then just like squish it around on your teeth. Get it all over your tongue. It just feels so good.
So you're like Elf.
Yeah.
Elf,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Why not?
And then I got those gummy clusters. Those gummy clusters when we were on the trip, just for a little, hors d'oeuvre for the maple
little
syrup.
extra. Yeah.
Do you know those are what I'm talking about? Yeah, I remember I handed them out.
Your teeth.
Yeah, I handed them out in the green room one time before the service. I'm like, this will get you guys all jacked up.
It's like
I'm feeling diabetic all of a sudden.
It's like my 11-year-old son Eli has the same candy palette as Pastor Gary.
Yeah.
He likes,
we were at a football game yesterday. Have you ever had it's like flat and it almost looks like shoe leather gummy covered in sugar and it's like rainbow.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. Mm-hmm. That'll get you going.
There you go.
Yeah.
What is it called?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Like Sugar Explosion.
Yep.
If you weren't,
and if it wasn't the sugar, it's the dyes in there that'll jack you up.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It's got like extra Red 5, man. That makes it taste
You
better.
need the extra Red 5 and whatever else you can't pronounce in the list.
Deep Lake 5.
Yeah.
I think that's another one.
What about? Do you like the maple leaf candy?
Yeah.
Do you like those?
Lisa Kay loves that.
Those
That's
are
her favorite.
good. Yeah, I like those too.
You've heard the story about me going to Korea and handing that out, right?
No.
The Koreans are super into health. And I went to this dinner where I'm the only person that speaks English. And I've got all the families of the students from Harbor Light that are exchange students. And so I'm handing out, first of all, I handed out Petoskey stones.
Okay.
And they're all looking at me like, you gave me a rock.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And then the next, I'm like, all right, well, that didn't go over very well. So I passed out the maple leaf sugar candy.
Yeah.
Life changing.
And I'm telling you what, their faces looked like I had just given them something terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like cringing. It was awful, right? Because they don't do sugar over there.
Okay.
And but there was one person at the table who kind of looked like they might have enjoyed it a little bit. So I offered a second piece. Now, if you don't know anything about Korean, they're very blunt. Whatever they're thinking, it comes right out of their mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through the interpreter, would you like some more? And through the interpreter, she says to me, are you trying to give me diabetes? Literally. So I gave out rocks and diabetes at a meal there.
You made an impact in that country
But
forever.
I love those. That's
those
really
are
good.
good.
It just melts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny because I had a Korean and a Chinese student in my class last year, and whenever they do cupcakes for birthdays, they never wanted them.
Really?
They never wanted to eat them.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do sugar.
I'm like, what are you passing this? I mean, this is an awesome cupcake.
Yeah.
Yep,
They're passing it up.
They're very much into complexion. So the women wear large billed hats to keep the sun off of their skin,
Oh,
or
okay.
they'll actually wear like a scarf over their face
Yeah.
to keep it from. It's not a Islamic thing. They just don't want their skin
Yeah,
touching
okay.
the sun.
Yeah. And we do all those things.
Yeah,
Right.
Plus,
right.
you want a bag of candy?
Right.
We're having
Put on
Halloween.
I'll take a
Yeah.
trough of
butter.
Mountain Dew at the drive-through.
You know, that's why we fatten them up when they're here and then send them back and they're like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the thinnest guy in the world, but I had someone come right up to me and it's like, "You're fat." Right.
Really?
I was in Korea. Oh yeah.
I'm not
you're
going
fat.
to Korea.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm not
Skipping
going.
that. I don't need that kind of
I mean, I already got a body
judgment.
image problem. I don't need to go over there and have it reinforced. Yeah. Here comes a fat American.
Huh.
Well,
Well, it's good to have you back, PG.
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Thank
it
you.
was a good trip. Good.
Yeah, so it was a great trip.
Great.
Lisa
Love-
K catch a lot of fish.
We only caught 2 fish. She lost 3 fish. They broke the line. They were so big.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
joke. But we were able to pull in 2, probably more than 24-inch, probably in the
Sweet.
maybe even close to 30-inch pike.
Yeah.
Great.
And we were trolling because
Okay.
the worms weren't working. So we trolled and caught them. And then
you guys eat 'em?
We ate them right up.
Great.
That meal. It was awesome.
Cool.
That is cool.
That's great, man.
Fresh fish.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All the mercury you can handle. Right?
I don't know.
And of
I
course,
think that's pretty clean.
You
lake.
probably don't know this, but it's Pastor Ted's parents' cottage in
Yeah.
Canada that we get to go to, and it's a slice of heaven for Lisa and I. Best vacation we've ever been on.
Way out in the middle of
That's
nowhere.
awesome.
In the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
cell phones don't work, no TV. We just play Scrabble and go fishing.
That's awesome.
That's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a fun spot.
I'd be a little
no internet, man.
yeah, I'd be like, what am I doing?
You're quiet and you sit and you drink coffee on the deck and
Yep.
you listen to loons and all that stuff, man. It's good.
I got to be honest with you. I mean, we didn't do anything like gambling or anything, but when we went to Las Vegas, that was my favorite vacation.
Really?
Yeah, we saw a bunch of shows.
Oh,
Went
yeah.
to all
That'd
the
be
different
fun.
hotels and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But it's so noisy.
Overstimulation.
Yeah, it was just great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Huh. All
That's
right.
my kind of thing.
And there were lots of air conditioning, I take.
Yeah,
There was a lot of air conditioning. The funny thing is we rented a car, and we didn't like splurge, so we got like a normal like a minivan, right? Mm-hmm. And we got there and they ran out, and they're like, well, we don't have anything to give you other than a real economy size, and we got like 4 people American size trying to get in this little tiny car.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we can upgrade you for no price to another car. And we're like, okay, great. So we're sitting there waiting for the car to come around. All of a sudden, this big Cadillac Escalade shows up.
All right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's how you do Las Vegas.
There you go.
There, yeah. And it was nice because I don't know if you guys ever been in a car like this, but when you come up to a stoplight, the car knew it. And all of a sudden, the front seats start vibrating. Like, wake up, you're coming to a stop sign or stoplight.
Sure.
And it was so weird. And then the engine would shut off.
Yeah.
And then you have to, push the gas to get it
Right.
going again. It's the weirdest thing.
Huh.
The rich people can keep that thing because after a while, I was like, I don't like this.
Sure.
None of it. Because we couldn't figure out how to turn the dumb seats off. And so every time you come to the stop, you're getting a massage while you're sitting there. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm awake. I don't need you to tell me anymore. I'm done.
Huh.
Well, welcome to this week's podcast. Do you ever wonder why you take the time each week to listen? A lot of people ask that question. Well, let me tell you why. MORE stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and eternity. So stop asking why you listen. Just never forget to listen and pass it on. And I don't know if I mentioned this last week or about China. 90 downloads from China.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We went
That's
from
incredible.
2 to 90.
That's great.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny to see. When you
Now
look
we're
on the
going to
map.
get Korean.
Now we're going to
'Cause
get
we're
Korean mentioned.
mentioning that.
Korean,
Yeah. That's
so we're gonna
awesome.
get some Korean listeners.
That's great.
Yeah, and
Glad to have you.
I put the podcast now on it with another company overseas,
Okay.
hoping to do
Boost
kind
a
of
little-
like a Res Life thing to get.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we're hopefully getting into some other countries. So
Sweet.
it'll be kind of cool.
They can listen to like our bacon jokes.
Yeah, right. And not well, like these people are fat, bunch of fat Americans. Well, Andrew, today's podcast is sponsored by the Adulting Notepad for when you're pretending to have your life together but secretly Googling how to boil water. Tired of adulting? Well, this hilarious and slightly sarcastic notepad has got your back. Whether you're attempting to keep track of super important things like paying bills, doing laundry for the third time this week because you forgot it again, or just trying to remember what day it is, the Adulting Notepad will help you fake your way through life with style. Well, it features some interesting things, check boxes for all those adulty things that you meant to do, like eat a vegetable or pretend to budget. Daily motivationals like, congrats, you put on your pants, because we all know that's half the battle. And then room for goals, like how many more snacks I add to my daily intake. Perfect for everyone who still wonders how other adults do it all, because let's be honest, we're all just winging it. Grab yours now and embrace the beautiful chaos that is adulting. Only at Amazon for $5.53.
Wow, that's a deal.
I think.
Do you like checking a box?
I do.
I do too. You like checking a box?
Oh,
BG?
absolutely.
That's what I do when I'm sitting in staff meeting. When we start,
Yeah.
I'm like making my list from the previous week and then adding more to it. And then it's always fun. Through the week, you get to just
It's
mark
nice.
it off.
Super
Good
satisfying.
to go. So Pastor Gary's back, and Ted, I think we're feeling better, right?
Yeah, I think
I'm-
a little bit.
I just got a slight little hang on.
Yeah.
You know,
we
every
were
now and
joking that last week, Pastor Gary, the podcast was like ASMR for sick people.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All the coughing and
I'm
people
sure
sneezing.
the power of suggestion. People are coughing on the other end
Sure.
of listening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I had people in church ask me, "Are you guys feeling any better?" I'm like, "Did it sound that bad?" And they're like, "Well, we could hear you in the background hacking up a lung." And-
Right.
and I'm
Like every
yeah.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, and that was all because of somebody that we have around the table that passed it on to
Again,
us.
I just blame Eli Polly's.
Yeah.
He is the guy.
He's the magnet. Huh?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna just say I can't remember a time that I had that much of junk in my lungs. I literally went through an entire, because I have asthma, so I went through an entire inhaler at home.
Oh, wow.
And I had called the doctor. I'm like, I need a refill. And she's like, you haven't had one of those in a long time. I'm like, yeah, I haven't had a problem until Link. And then all
I
of a
do
sudden-
think there's weather change happening and all that stuff. It's not
okay,
just-
you're one of those guys,
Yeah,
right?
I'm just saying.
Somebody seeding the clouds, Ted, and causing the hurricane and everything else. Yeah.
Well, hey, we've got the only guy Chuck Norris was looking for a pastor and couldn't find one tough enough until he met this guy,
Yes.
Pastor Gary.
Wow.
Pastor Gary.
Wow. All right.
Pastor Gary.
So you're Chuck Norris's pastor.
I guess.
You didn't know that.
That's pretty good. Well, across the table from me, the man with all the talent knows where all the buttons and knobs and what they do. He's the pastor that doesn't read books. He just stares at them until they give up the information. Pastor Alex Norton.
That's right here. Yeah. Give it to me. And the only guy I know who started a support group for people who can't stop buying music equipment, Pastor Ted. Yeah.
yeah.
It's becoming internet famous.
Well, I've stopped, so I should be the leader.
Do you
of
get
that
a
group.
Do you get a chip after a certain time, like,
Yeah,
or
right.
a guitar pick? You get a guitar
That'd be
pick with
good. Yeah.
How many
That'd
months
be
you've been
nice.
sober from buying stuff?
There you go.
I got to admit, I looked last. I went on to sweetwater.com and scoping out the deal zone, guys.
I just wanted one guitar. That's all.
praise and worship leader porn.
Yeah, it is. Sweetwater is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a problem of a website.
yeah.
There's a pastor up in the UP that during COVID he was making daily shows
Yeah.
and putting them out, and I was doing the same thing. And we were watching each other's. And Pastor Tim,
Oh.
and he had a different guitar like every episode or
Really?
whatever. I'm like, how many guitars do you have? And then at the end of the whole COVID thing, he had behind him all the guitars on stands that he used for his show. It was
You're
pretty
like,
amazing.
I've just realized that I just have graduated from having lots of guitars to a couple really expensive
good,
ones.
good. That's all right.
yeah, because I mean, if you buy like the cheap ones, you don't feel so bad.
Right.
You're like, this is only a $400 guitar.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a big deal.
Right.
But then when you start getting into the thousands,
Yep.
because we saw a guitar when we went to that one place in
Yep.
Grand Rapids, it wanted $7,000 for this guitar.
Wow.
And I'm like, who in their right mind? And it already looked like it had been used.
A guy who's
Yeah.
about to have a lot of fun and enjoyment.
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong
be.
person.
Jeez, man.
Why that's a bad idea.
Who would?
Apparently,
so fun.
that's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be right back after this little brief break. We're going to be talking about Halloween candy that should never have been created, based on a recent poll from Gen Zers. They got together and decided that some of these candies are probably something that should have never come on the market. We may like them. I think they may be bringing back some memories as we talk about them, but they think they should be not on the market. So we'll be right back after this.
More podcast is here. Your day just got better. I mean, kind of right. If you had a choice between a root canal or listening to this podcast, I'm sure we would win. Be right back.
All right, so here's a list of Halloween candies that definitely should have stayed on the drawing board for everyone's sake. Now, this is not my list. I'm just going to put it out there.
Okay.
So don't hate on me. This is coming from a Gen Z poll that was taken on the internet.
Brah.
Yeah, of things that they thought should have never been created. The first one they have on the list is candy corn, the most controversial of all. Tastes like sugary crayons and feels like disappointment in candy form.
I don't know.
Why is
it's
it
not
still a
too
thing?
bad. I
Do you like
it.
candy corn?
Yeah, you make little fangs on it.
Yeah,
you stick it
yeah,
on your
yeah.
teeth
They're kinda
and walk
fun.
around like that for a bit. I don't care how old you are. That's still fun.
What about the pumpkins? The candy corn pumpkins?
My wife used
You
to
know?
love those. Yeah,
Yeah. If it's around, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably eat one.
yeah.
Not
Well,
like seeking it out, but
I think it's funny when you have them and they've been in your house for like
Yeah,
a long
right.
time, and then you put them out like for guests. And it's
I
they're
love
like
you so
losing
much. Here
their
you go.
dentures and teeth are breaking at the same time. Here's another one. This used to be my favorite. Circus peanuts.
oh yeah. We
No
don't
one
need
knows
these.
what these orange marshmallow monstrosities actually are. They look
don't
like
need these.
packing peanuts and taste like regret.
Yeah.
They are. I don't know what it is.
I'm
They're
not into 'em.
super
They're
sugary.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all right, but I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I got to get to those.
Right.
Yeah. Well, growing up in a dentist's home, I mean, did
Yeah.
you get
Oh,
to
yeah.
even
What-
try any of this stuff?
Yeah. My dad, so next to the dental office was a bakery, so people would always
yeah.
bring that. And across the street is Kilwin, so it was like,
Yeah.
and they knew like he was a big chocolate guy, so there's always bringing stuff to him. And
Again, so I was at your
Yeah.
dad's cabin
Right.
this last week, and guess what I found in the cabinet?
What's that?
Unopened, complete package of Oreos.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Which are the perfect prank for when you go to get your teeth cleaned. You eat Oreos before you go to get your
Yeah,
teeth
right. It's all impacted, brown. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a
he
really
would give out.
surprising.
He'd give out. He would say like, don't eat like bubble gum or like suckers, but eat a candy bar because it goes away faster.
Oh, okay.
So don't
Oh.
keep that on your teeth. And then at Halloween, he'd give out toothbrushes along with
He was
candy.
that- he
along
was
with
that guy.
candy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
He'd give you candy, but you got a toothbrush too.
We always, when we lived in like bigger cities and go trick or treating, we always knew that house.
Yeah.
that was either going to give apples,
An apple,
or
a quarter or
toothbrushes
something. Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, and our kids were like, "I don't want to go up there." I'm like,
Right.
"Do it.
Yeah.
Say hi."
Yeah.
Here's one that I'm glad that made the list because I am not a big fan. Black licorice.
Sure.
Because nothing says happy Halloween like the taste of sadness and grandma's candy bowl full of leftovers.
It's true.
It's
Black
gross.
licorice
Yeah,
is
it's
just
gross.
Why
Why are we
do
doing
Why do we
that?
even do that?
Yeah, why are
I
we
just.
doing that?
Mm-mm. This used to be my grandparents' favorite. Nico wafers or Necco
Yeah,
wafers.
those are so bad.
chalk candy form.
I bought those once in my lifetime. Why? How is that a business that survives?
Right.
Well, when you put it in your mouth, and your mouth
Gross.
immediately dries up.
Right.
It's like this is not right. Well,
This is
they
like
perfect for
torture,
when you
not
want
even
to
good.
But look when
taste
they,
history.
They were in the 1800s. That's
Yeah.
the reason.
Well,
They
right.
didn't know
because
they didn't know what sugar was.
that's right.
But it's like putting taking a
Life was
bottle
like
of talcum powder
suffering
and
yeah.
Yeah, in
I'd
your
like I'd like
Yeah.
a Tums
I'd
that
like some-
doesn't taste as good as a Nico wafer.
yeah, you got-
1800s, everyone's like starving and in a dust bowl.
Here,
or
have this,
something.
it's
Yeah,
good.
right.
1800s, they
Enjoy
didn't have-
this.
there was color. Everything was in black and white.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so they didn't even know.
It makes sense.
And they're all like light pink and yellow
Yeah,
and
gross.
weird
brown.
colors. Yeah.
There's a brown one.
Looks like a Pepto Bismol.
For real, that doesn't taste good. I would argue that the Pepto tastes better than the Nico
Yeah,
wafer.
it does actually, and you
Yeah.
get more benefit out of it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's another one: wax lips. Fun for 5 seconds, and then
Yeah.
you realize you're chewing on wax. Seriously, who thought edible fake lips were
That's
a good
a
idea?
child thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those things are not very popular anymore because I went around. A lot of times we'd get our kids those little syrup bottles that look like Coke.
Yeah, yeah.
And they bite the top off
Sure.
and drink the sugary crack, and then be hyper for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
they used to love those.
Those are
things.
kind of fun, but
This is another big one. This is probably from somebody's past. Mary Jane's. Remember?
I don't
these?
know what those is.
It's a sticky peanut butter flavored cement. It's like if candy was trying to glue your teeth together forever. Those are pretty
Huh.
bad. You can get those at the Dollar General.
Yeah.
They still have those. Bit O' Honey. You guys- you know that,
I
yeah.
disagree. I think Bit O' Honey, those are good.
They are good.
Well, this is let's combine honey flavored taffy with a dentist's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Enjoy the taste of honey as you lose fillings.
So speaking of Sweetwater,
Yeah.
when you buy musical things from Sweetwater, they send you candy bags in their thing.
Really?
So my kids are always fired up because they know they see the Sweetwater box come in. And they're just like a
Candy!
Little, and Bit O' Honey is the best thing that they send.
Really?
Yeah. It's like a little bag. And I have friends like, you know, who are buying stuff all the time, and you have a rep, and the rep will send them like a whole jar. He'll be like, I just want Bit of Honey in my next order. So he'll get like a big jug of it.
oh my gosh.
If you're a frequent flyer at Sweetwater, they'll hook you up.
They'll
with
hook you
some
up, yeah,
candy.
yeah.
Thousands of dollars of musical equipment.
I used to have a friend that worked there, and he would always call me. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, hey, you got this new equipment. You want to try it out? And I'm like, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Like, quit calling me.
Quit calling the pastor,
I have
right?
no money. Well, this is when I actually had a decent job making money.
Right.
Here's another one. Peanut butter kisses. Not like Reese's Pieces or Reese's Cups. These are the unlabeled generic orange and black wrap candies that taste like peanut butter mixed with rubber. Spooky.
Those are gross.
Yeah.
Where do you buy that at?
Like the Dollar General,
Right.
Family Dollar. Yeah, they get
It's
specifically wrapped in a Chinese warehouse somewhere.
yeah, those are gross.
And given to you with love from
Yeah,
another
they
country.
like you bite into it and it like explodes kind of and then gets chewy.
Yeah, it's just it's yucky. It's just
yikes.
and the peanut butter doesn't even taste like peanut butter.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
But it's cheap.
Yeah.
So if you're
okay.
gonna give that out the door, you can hand that out by the
Right.
handfuls.
Oh yeah, good and plenty.
Good and plenty's,
So
yes.
gross.
Licorice coated in a sugary shell, tricking you into
Here's
thinking it's
medicine.
something sweet and
Yep.
delightful.
Gross.
Your candy's been powder coated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just awful.
Powder coated licorice that you don't want
You
anyway.
could get to Mike and Ike from Good and Plenty. So why not just change those machines over, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Quit adding the ingredients to this and just make Mike and Ike.
Somebody out there wants them. That's the
I
thing.
don't know.
It's not the Gen Zers because this is on their list, so it's got to
It's
be
gross.
from our generation or maybe your generation. You're a millennial.
I'm not buying that.
You're not.
No.
Okay. All right. Here's the
My
last
parents
one.
loved me, Pastor Alex. I'm not even
What you
Good and Plenty.
They want the good stuff. Yeah.
Right. This is like me, like self-flagellation, eating Good and Plenty.
I would always, when I was trick or treating, I always go to the houses where I knew they were giving out full size candy bars. You knew those
Yeah.
people because they always had the big house,
Sure.
nice, Corvette in the driveway, and you're like, "Yep, this is
Yeah.
going to be a good one."
Oh, yeah.
Get the big candy bars. Here's the last one. Toothbrushes, not candy, but we all know that one house that thinks Halloween is a great time to push dental hygiene. Ted's house.
That's right.
No Karen.
You
no
get candy too, but
Yeah, but your dad's pushing the toothbrush first. He's like, and then when the kids are complaining, they're like,
well,
"Okay,
he's
I got
just
candy
a
for
smart
you."
businessman because
Yeah.
here's a toothbrush and some sugar. So
Yeah, right.
Got to keep him coming back.
Well, that's what I'm
right?
thinking. Job security for where he had his practice because you had the
Oh,
bakery
boy.
and Kilwins across
Yep.
the street.
Yep.
That's job security. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I would do. Yeah.
Yep.
If you're gonna make widgets, look for the people that need them.
That's right.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
called smart thinking.
Well, there you go. There's a list that the Gen Zers say should be taken off the candy list.
Do you guys disagree with any of them? Just the
No,
bit of honey for
actually,
me.
bit of honey. I'm really not a fan of pretty much any of this. Candy corn every now and then,
Yeah.
but those things kind of give me heartburn after a while if I eat too many of them. Not too much. What about you, PG?
Candy corn and the bitty honey are the two that I would keep. Off
You keep
this
on there.
list.
Yeah, basically we're saying we're expressing our generation. Yeah. Circus peanuts. I mean,
No.
I like those. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I don't eat them. We don't have any sugar in our
It's
house
like
now.
bad
But
cotton candy. It's like
Yeah.
cotton candy that's old.
yeah, I know.
Here's a circus.
But
Old cotton candy.
but my wife and I used to leave them out so they'd dry.
Gross, man.
And so the outside was crunchy, and then the inside was a little soft. Yeah, that's how we'd eat them.
That's how you liked it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
That's like at Easter time. My wife, they got their little marshmallow peeps.
Yeah.
They put them in the freezer. Then they handed them out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's the way they
Huh.
had it. Frozen.
Yeah. Well, I
Peeps
thought
are another one of those things where I'm like,
Well, I thought they were good for a little bit, but then last year they came out with peeps that are like hot sauce peeps and cheddar cheese peeps, and I'm like, what are you,
You know
doing?
who designed that?
Who?
A youth pastor.
Really?
Yeah,
You're lying.
that's just
It's a
for,
contest.
no, but
Yeah.
that's youth group game guy. Right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Pastor Matt would get
Marshmallow
the- right,
chickens.
the Taki flavored peep.
Oh yeah.
right.
Oh yeah.
A couple of
There's no
summers
way.
ago, he had the whole summer is dedicated to all those different Jelly Belly flavors.
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
dirty
that's
socks
fun.
and
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is super
There's
fun.
There's nothing more exciting than watching a kid
Oh, boy.
hopefully getting the
Booger.
fart one or
Yeah.
the booger one. And then
Gross.
watching them try to just stomach
Dirt.
it down. Yeah, it's awesome.
That is a lot of fun.
Well, we'll be right back after this break with Babylon Bee News.
We know we are a lot sometimes to handle, but we think that's why you like listening. We put the dysfunction back in your otherwise functional day. More podcast will be right back.
This is Babylon Bee News. News that is not factual but impactful. I'm Lena Lightly reporting. Biddleford, Michigan, the foundations of Christendom, were rocked to their very core this week after local atheist Chaz Piddington noted that Christians eat shellfish and wear mixed fabrics. You claim to be a Christian, and yet I noticed you're wearing a satin polyester blend shirt and eating shrimp cocktail, said Piddington to a nearby Christian who was wearing a satin polyester blend shirt and eating shrimp cocktail. Apparently you haven't read the Old Testament law. Why don't you go stone someone while you're at it? Hey, we've never heard this line of argumentation in the entire 2,000-year history of our faith, said noted Christian apologist Frank Turek. Mr. Piddington, with this simple question no one has thought of before, has completely dismantled my faith forever. I'm not sure what to do with my life now. Turek then got in his car and drove off to the fedora store to purchase his first fedora. Theologians at the Vatican, Oxford, and Rick Warren's 2-week pastor's college are reportedly scrambling to find an answer to the shellfish fabrics dilemma, but so far have produced no results. We're pretty sure it's over for us, said one theologian anonymously. It's been a good run, but it's time to pack it up and go home. At publishing time, Christians had fired a devastating volley back at the atheists by challenging them to explain the existence of triple bacon cheeseburgers as well as everything else. This has been Babylon Bee News exclusively on More Podcast. I'm Lena Lightly. Back to the Gap crew in the Bat Cave.
Thank you, Lena, for that one. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good argument, really.
Rick
you know?
Warren's 2 week.
I know, I read 2 weeks, and you too can be a pastor in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's worth it. I don't know about that. Well, we're gonna take.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Lena's stepping in for all the other ones. We'll be right back with Rapture Ready News after this quick break.
This is the time in the show you can refill your coffee. Make it quick because you might miss what's coming up next. The Gap Group has a way of catching you off guard. More podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Get Rapture ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead. And Pastor Ted. And more. Pastor Ted. He's in the room too. Did you make this your ringtone yet?
Not yet. You can't change it. This is good. Don't change it.
Yeah. We need to get you that
It's
ringtone.
lost. It's lost in the AI world. Or
Yeah, we
whatever,
gotta
but
find it
don't-
somewhere.
Don't change that.
I was
good
trying to
song.
look for it on I have a junk file.
Okay.
Like when I'm done with stuff, I
Yep.
don't want to see it anymore. I'll put it in my junk file to find it later. I've got just miles and miles of
Yeah.
junk files. And, it doesn't really say what it is because I never really label things right.
Sure.
So it's like -579-357. I'm like, what is that? Okay, a little serious note here for Rapture Ready News. Well, hurricane victims are going to get hit again. We just had Helena hit and wiped out so much, and we've been hearing about that on the news and all the things going on there. But now they're gearing up for Hurricane Milton, which I think, who comes up with these names, right?
Yeah.
Milton.
Milton?
Milton came up with that one.
Yeah, it's the
Milton.
National Weather Service has a list and it's
Yeah.
alphabetical and
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh.
and they bounce between the men and the women names because
Yeah.
it used to be only women's names.
But yeah, because the fury of a hurricane is
way.
like a woman.
Yes, I'm
It was
telling you,
only women's
only
names?
women's names, and then there's a big sexist feminist movement against that.
I think
now
I'd
they
be
do
upset
men,
too.
and then women, then men, then women.
Women are always associated with destruction. Destruction,
And violent
devastation.
wind.
Yeah, and violent wind.
We need to move along on that.
Yeah. So Milton, that doesn't sound very scary, but it's going to be a big one. They're saying it could be a Class 5. It's expected to hit Florida's Gulf Coast with heavy rains, powerful winds, and a major storm surge, just as the area is recovering from Hurricane Helena. The storm could bring over a foot of rain in some regions, and storm surges up to 15 feet. Whoa. That's huge.
Yeah.
So we're praying for Larry and Jamie Fry, who are living right in the direct path. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Man.
Yeah. Well, that's not good. I was watching them put stuff up to protect their homes, and I'm like, that 15 feet wave. I don't know.
15 feet. It's most of your house.
So they're saying that's a state of emergency. Florida's declared a state of emergency for 51 of its counties out of 67. So big thing. So we want to just talk about some things we can do. Definitely pray. We want to pray for the safety and protection for those in the storm's path, obviously. The Fries. Anybody else we know that's down there? Can't think of anybody else.
The Lamberts.
Yep. Okay. So put them on your prayer list. People that are right there. And then also ask God for wisdom and guidance for emergency response. I mean, all of us can do something, you can be a part of it. And then pray for the comfort and provision for those still recovering from Hurricane Helena. It's just amazing how they're not being taken care of. I mean, let's just be honest. I don't care what side of the political platform you're on, but
wild.
People are just not getting help. And so they're middle of devastation. Helicopters not getting there, and people are dying on their roofs because they're not getting food and water because they can't get down from their roof. So it's something to think about.
Yeah,
We can do better.
We
Excel
can do
College, Excel College, which is right outside Asheville. They've closed all their classes, and they're a distribution center for.
Oh wow,
That's good.
Yeah, good for them.
It's really good. Whenever this stuff comes up, that was one of my jobs in Salvation Army is disaster relief.
Okay.
So I was always sent to disasters and stuff, and it's a big job. It is a huge job. When I was down for Katrina, I was part of the coroner's office.
Oh man.
And so we go and they would find bodies, and I would be counseling the families and stuff. But it is a big, big, big job.
Yeah.
Because even after everybody leaves, right, FEMA and everybody pull out because they've been there for quite a while, and people have to just come back to their homes and figure out what they're going to do with it. That's really when the big stuff happens because you got to figure out if you're going to keep your house, if it's salvageable, and tear it down, and then you got looters because that was one of the things we dealt with. I mean, I would be driving around, helping people, and we'd serve food, water, and all this stuff, and you'd hear gunshots like all over the place. People like, get off my property, that kind of stuff, and so it is kind of scary. I from what I understand from this situation, it is not as bad because people are kind of scared of the people in the mountains, so they're not like looting like they.
Oh, okay.
But the sheriff's departments have. I think the sheriff of one town came out and said, you come here, you got trouble.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're taking it serious.
Wow.
But if you want to help out, there's a lot of ways you can assist the victims of Hurricane Milton. I'll tell you from my own experience, the worst thing you can do is send stuff that you buy at the thrift store, or find items and products that you want to send down. Because one of the things that I've learned over my years of doing it is that it will sit in a warehouse and never get distributed, and then people don't know what to do with it. And a lot of times the local offices and people that are in charge will just kind of ship it off somewhere else or give it to another thrift store or whatever. So it's not a good thing. So I always encourage people, if they want to really help, either go down there physically and help out, doing the work that needs to be done, or
as long as you're
send finances.
As long as you go down there and become a burden on.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't become a burden on them. And there's a way to do that too. Most of the agencies would like you to at least call them and go through some training of some sort. And a lot of them just need hands and feet to move stuff and get stuff cleaned up. Yeah. But agencies that you can work through, American Red Cross, you can check them out at redcross.org. And they have an emergency plan in place that you can get a hold of. They encourage, though, people donate to the disaster through them. Of course, you got the Salvation Army, which I worked through for many years extensively. You can send them money so that they can get stuff in the local area to them. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA.
That's probably on the bottom of the list.
That's the bottom of the list. I would not make a big deal about that. Florida Disaster Fund. This is a state-ran disaster relief organization. Florida's disasterfoundation.org. Then there's Samaritan's Purse, which I highly recommend.
Highly recommend that one.
They have been really doing a lot down there. and actually, President Trump recommended them.
Okay.
Elon Musk has donated quite a bit of money to them too as well.
Okay.
Because they will find a way
Yeah.
to get the stuff to the people, which is nice. And then United Way Worldwide. This is a good organization. I've worked with them. I've been on their boards a few times. UnitedWay.org. You can send information to them, and they can get you connected with somebody. Definitely, all these things need financial support. So, if you find one of these places, excluding
You guys want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
In the midst of terrible news?
Yeah.
So Lisa and I are going to get a little bit of time away at the end of the month. And so we were contemplating going to northern Indiana or down to see the Fries.
Yeah.
And after much prayer and deliberation, we decided to go see the Fries.
Yeah.
We pushed the button on our airline tickets.
Yeah.
And literally 15 minutes later, they're like, Category 5 hurricane headed right toward where you're going. So we might be going down for disaster relief instead of vacation.
You might be down there for a while.
When do you leave?
It's like the 24th of October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That you shouldn't tell people the date, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody's gonna be like, "He's gone." Let's
Yeah.
take. Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you edit that up?
I can take it out. Yeah.
Okay.
We sent down a bunch of toilet paper.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I told you that.
We had people that came by it was Monday, and they're like, "We want to get toilet paper to take down. We're heading down to visit our family down there, or whatever." So we loaded them up, and
Nice job.
a few people, and they were like, "Yeah, our family down there cannot find toilet paper, water,
Wow.
all the essentials."
Oh, man.
And I'm like, we have a whole warehouse, Mm-hmm. That's part of the problem is how do you get it down there,
Right.
So
I wish Harbor
go
Light
down.
kind of had our own. We want to have a disaster relief team at some point with the trailer ready to go with
Yeah.
chainsaws and the whole bit. But it would be nice to have a semi truck.
Yeah, ready
to
to
be
go.
able to get load it up.
Sure.
And send
all
it
kinds
out.
of stuff you can take down there.
Let's dream big, folks.
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd
It
be
would
really
be
cool.
really sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little mobile unit that you can just
Yeah.
kind of come down and take care of stuff.
Yeah, and you can sleep
crap
right
done.
in the unit.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a motorhome sled with a big, trailer on the back.
Yeah.
And then you go down and you just sleep in the motorhome with whoever's on the
Sure.
team and everything. But those are the hardy people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not about your comfort.
No. I the one thing that people would say, I want to go with when they want to go with me to the disaster. I'm like, you don't know what you're getting into because we sleep on cots.
Yep.
If you're lucky.
Yep.
If you're lucky to get a cot, and you eat breakfast whenever the volunteers make it.
Right.
So you don't always get to eat. And then for me, I was always on a vehicle, meandering around the streets.
Yep.
And sometimes we'd sleep in there because you never got back in time.
I have had this romantic idea about doing this, and when Pastor Amy came on board
Yeah.
here at Harper Light, that was one of the things that she was working on, is to be able to go down and then actually provide food for the people who are
Right.
working,
Yeah.
for the people who are in the rescue,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Because that's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one thing people don't realize is like all these agencies that are down, like Red Cross, not so much Salvation Army because we had our food, but FEMA and all them, the groups they work for don't provide that stuff for them.
Mm-hmm.
So when they volunteer and go down, sort of on your own.
Figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
Wow.
And so one of the things Salvation Army did was set up soup kitchens in those areas because they weren't eating.
yeah.
Wow.
You got senior citizens that were volunteering for the Red Cross that hadn't gotten
Yeah.
anything, and it's like,
Yeah, that creates a whole nother set of problems.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because the volunteers are not
Right.
they're not being healthy. They're tired already, and it is super emotional. I don't think people realize how emotional it is when you come in contact with people
When you see
that
somebody's
have lost
rubble,
everything.
which
yeah,
used to be their house.
yeah, and
Lost
they're
loved ones.
They don't. Yeah, and they have no idea what to do next.
And I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing it, so I don't know if it's completely true. But now that the waters are receding away from the mountains and the valleys that are up in that area,
Yeah.
they're finding bodies in trees.
Jeez.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and
Yeah, wow.
they they got to figure out how to take care of them, and that's the big problem because the coroner's office can only do so much. They're a small entity to begin with,
Right.
So then you have volunteers that have to be getting involved, putting the bodies in bags and taking them and getting them somebody identified. Yeah, it's a big issue, and unfortunately, in this one we lost some children. Some children got caught in the floods. There's a lot of stories with that, and that's always a tragedy. When that happens, anybody who passes in this situation is a tragedy, but it just especially hits home when you have little children that find themselves in those situations. So I'd encourage you before making a donation or offering any assistance, I advise to verify the current needs and activities of these organizations and begin to just understand where they're at that point. Because,
Right.
sometimes we may have seen something on the news and we think, oh, this is what they need. And then you get down there and they've kind of shifted a little bit because of the needs of the people. So you should, if you're really interested in doing it, contact the agency before you ever head down there, get in your car and do
Yes.
something. But if you do want to help, I encourage you to send money, not stuff. Stuff is not necessarily helpful in those situations, but money is, because the agencies can get what they need to help the people. So there's my 2 cents on that, but be definitely praying for these people.
Well, it's good to know how to help, right? Helping is one thing, and then also knowing I think that's a good thing, right? Of being really, what's the best way?
Well, everybody wants to
having
help,
somebody
yeah.
like you who've been
Yeah.
on the ground, and
Yeah.
that's wise. That's
And I think it's
wisdom.
great people want to help.
Yep.
I really do. I think I encourage that all the time,
Yeah.
but people that want to get in their car, run down there real quick and help out, they
Sure.
don't always realize what they're walking into.
Yeah.
It's not just, helping people move furniture around and
Sure.
get it to the road or whatever it is. You got people that have just witnessed or been a part of a serious disaster and tragedy in their
Yeah.
life. And they're looking for people that can help them deal with the emotional aspect of it. And unfortunately, volunteers that come down there to think they're just going to do building and moving stuff,
Yeah.
they're on the front lines.
Yeah,
they're
You're
right there.
seeing some hard stuff.
Yeah, they're seeing some hard stuff. We're going to take an ID break, come back with Harbor Light Bible Trivia, and we're drawing the name from the Wilson Insurance Magic Hat with all of the special gifts that we have. And, of course, we just talked about them. We have Canadian gifts this year, or this month. So if you win, you're getting a smuggled Canadian gift.
Yep.
We'll be right back.
I know you thought, a church podcast. Boring. I hope by now you have realized that we are not normal. We wear weird on our sleeves 24/7. This is more podcast. Let's have some fun.
And you do. You get more than what you bargained for in this.
Right.
I mean, you think you're coming into this and it's just a dollar show,
Sure.
but you can walk out going, this is worth 20.
Oh, man.
This is worth 20. That's what we do here. We want to make sure that you walk away going, yeah, I was worth my time this week to listen to the More podcast.
That's right.
So here we are with the big question for this week, and then we're drawing for the person to win the smuggled in Canadian stuff.
Yep.
And
So I think we should probably kind of do some socks and a pair of pajama pants.
oh,
Cool.
Let's double
Big
up
one,
on
yeah.
this.
we're
make
giving
this
out 2 gifts
two gifts to the winner.
to the one winner.
Right. And this is from last month's contest.
Yeah,
right?
this was
Okay.
We're a little behind because we were all discombobulated for a few weeks.
Sounds like you guys are coughing too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Leslie Budnick.
Oh, Leslie.
Right.
And what does she win, Pastor Gary?
She wins some Canadian bacon socks and some Canadian bacon pajama pants.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Good job, Leslie.
Yeah, so you should be
Congrats.
matching.
She's going to be really popular
Yeah.
with Brian because Brian
loves bacon.
He
Yeah,
loves
he loves
bacon.
bacon.
I would say, too, the packaging of it is super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It
It
looks
looks
like
great.
a package of bacon.
It does.
But
It's
I
great.
did check and read through all of the description on the back, and it's not bacon flavored or bacon smell or anything like that. It's just bacon pajama pants.
That's actually too bad, though.
You could
honestly.
buy bacon spray or something.
Yeah, you can put it on there.
Like
I
a
mean,
bacon.
Unfortunately, we
essential
only have
oil.
like large and extra large pairs, so she's going to have to hem them for herself. But she can do that.
She's a short lady.
She's not a very tall lady.
Yeah, and so she's going to wear it, and she's
Yeah,
going to
be
roll
great.
up the pants.
Yep. It's
gonna be
She's going to
great.
go back to pegging her pants.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I
Okay,
have a
so we got
question.
the question for this
Got
week.
the question for this week coming up. You got it?
No, you do.
Oh, I got it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready. So the question is found in. I'm going to give you the address. It's found in Proverbs chapter 17, verse 9. And we're in a series called The Bait of Satan, so it's going to line up with the message for this particular week. So Proverbs 17:9. The question is, the person who conceals offense, what do they promote?
Oh,
If you conceal offense, you're promoting something. What is it that you're promoting?
so they'll get that information.
By reading the verse.
Proverbs what?
17:9.
Okay.
Oh, well, if they come to church on Sunday, they
That's
definitely
even
will get
better.
the answer because
That's
you
right.
will actually go right to it. Right?
Maybe. Maybe. I'm not sure.
He's like, I don't know if I'm going to add that scripture or not.
But
Well,
Proverbs 17:9.
9.
Yeah.
So if you conceal offense, you're promoting something. What is it that you're promoting? Maybe
Okay.
Ted's looking it up right now. Do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
You got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Huh? Let me see.
There you go.
I need my bifocals.
That's a good.
Oh. Yeah, okay. I like that.
That is good.
So if you're not going to deal with stuff,
Yeah.
Right.
you're going to promote something that's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, not the more podcast. Definitely not.
No.
Something else. Well, last week, the answer was what? 20 pieces of silver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody wrote in and said it was 200 pieces. And I'm like, I think you added it to 0, but I think you're close to
Yeah.
20. You just added it.
It would have
0.
been. It would have been really rich if it would have been 30 pieces.
right. Doesn't that seem like it should be that?
It should have
right.
been 30
I mean, come
Why?
on. If you're gonna
because Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of
Oh,
silver.
right.
Yeah.
If he would have
sorry.
been sold
got
for
it.
30,
Okay. Yeah.
but it was only 20. So
Right.
well, I
it's
looked
supposed
at,
to get your attention, but maybe not.
Right.
Line
Jesus
it
is
up
worth
perfectly.
10 more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you looked that up. Okay, this is something I did an actual sermon on this, and I thought it was pretty clever when I put it together. But 30 pieces of silver is what you would sell a woman into slavery for.
Oh.
that was the going rate. 20 pieces of silver
Yep.
is actually what you would do to buy like a lamb or for sacrifice.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
So it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked that one up because I didn't know about the 20 pieces. I knew the 30 pieces
Yep.
was that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
So basically, it was kind of slap in the face when they gave him 30
Sure.
pieces of silver. Like Jesus is basically as low as that. Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, there's inflation because that's about 2,000 years between
Yeah, right.
Joseph and
Yeah, right.
maybe
and
the 200
Binomics
is
is working.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
We got 10 extra pieces of silver now. We got to pay for this crap. Yeah. What was I one translation? I don't know if it was the NLT. They don't give the count.
Oh, they don't.
They give the weight.
Oh, okay.
And they're like 8 ounces. And I'm like, 8 ounces is not a lot.
But that makes it easier for you to translate it in today's
Yeah,
value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So 8 ounces
little
of silver.
easier.
Yeah, it was. I'm like, that's pretty cheap. You're getting off pretty
Yeah.
cheap for
What
that one.
8 ounces? Like what is that? Like a can of?
I know what
something,
4
or
ounces
like-
looks like because that's what I get to eat for protein.
Well, this
at
Mountain
night.
Dew I have in front of me right now is a 20
what's
ouncer.
that?
So,
there you go.
So it's
Yeah,
half of that.
almost half of that.
What?
Yeah.
That's nothing.
That's wild, huh?
Man, inflation has gone up.
Right.
Yeah. Because, that Mountain Dew in Bible times, you could have bought a
boy.
2-liter
Yeah.
for that price, That'd be the normal amount, right?
Right.
Do you guys know the Christian comedian Nate Bargatze?
I feel like I've heard that.
He's
name, but-
a super good Christian comedian. He's on Saturday Night Live now, and he's doing a whole sketch.
Oh, yeah, I
he's
know.
George Washington.
Yeah, I love that
Oh
one.
my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah,
there were
he
3.
is
That
funny,
one is
huh?
hilarious.
Yeah,
he is
weights and
super
measures.
funny. Yeah.
we're
He's-
starting this country so we can come up with our own weights and measures.
Right.
What's
He's
wrong
like
with,
really, really dry.
Yeah,
and
slow.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
Oh, yeah.
slow.
what's
He
wrong
is
with
super
millimeters
funny.
and
Yeah.
and he's like, nothing, but we want to use yards and feet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a form of keeping track of the weather and the temperature. The whole rest of the world would make sense, but we're going to go with the random one.
Yeah.
we want our country to be the random one. That makes
Fahrenheit.
no sense to anybody.
They're like,
Fahrenheit. What's it
can
called?
you-
Fahrenheit. Can you spell that for me? Impossible.
Like impossible. The one I thought was he's like talking about football, and he's like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna play a game
Yeah,
called
yeah,
football, and they're like, oh, so it's a game that you kick a ball, and he's like, no. There will be some kicking, but
Some
everything,
kicking.
yeah,
but everything
will
else you're going to throw it around. Well, you're going to score points. How many points? Sometimes 1, sometimes 3.
Oh my gosh, you got to check it out. It's hilarious.
I like his stuff. I see it online once in a while too.
But he's done now 2 of those. He did one
Cool.
a while back, and then they did bring all the people back that've been for the
Yeah,
year.
cool.
And he did another one, and the second one he even goes in further. It's hilarious. Oh, the one that they did this last week was about the hot dog, and the guys
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're gonna eat something called
If you're
a
an
hot dog."
American, you don't want to know what's inside of a hot dog.
Yeah, and he's like, get off my boat. Get off my boat. He's like, you want me to go over to the? Yeah, he's like, get off my boat.
Get off the boat.
Any American will not ask what's in a hot dog. All right. Well, we'll be right back with Bible Talk. And Pastor Gary, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You're ready.
More podcast may cause spontaneous jazz hands, uncontrollable dad jokes, temporary British accent, excessive air guitar, random dance breaks, could result in breaking into dance at the most inappropriate times, overwhelming craving for pickles, compulsive high-fiving, an uncontrollable urge to high-five everyone, including strangers, speaking in movie quotes, communicating exclusively through famous film lines, imaginary friend syndrome, making dinner reservations for 2, you and your new invisible pal.
Well, The Bait of Satan by John Bevere, which is the book that we're looking at right now at church. Pastor Gary's doing a 6-week series. Addresses the dangers of offense in the life of a believer. It attempts to explain how offense is a trap used by Satan to hinder our relationships with God and others, leading to bitterness and unforgiveness. In Brevere's book, he offers practical advice on how to recognize and overcome offenses, live free from their negative impact, and experience true spiritual growth and freedom through forgiveness. And so the book emphasizes the importance of choosing reconciliation and guarding our hearts against offense. And this is really the source that we're using for the 6-week series. And Pastor Gary, he's digging into this and pulling out even more.
Yeah.
You can only put so much in a book.
Yeah. It's really fun and challenging to have everyone watching the video series and get up there and not just repeat what's on the video because they're going to watch that later.
Right.
But you have to stick to the thing and then, try to inform everyone who's maybe not in a small group on what's going on. So it's been fun and challenging, but the Holy Spirit always comes through and being able to highlight and pull out different content that is being covered maybe in the book or something like that. So that's always fun.
I think it's been great. And of course, the staff went through it first. That's how we found out about it. Mm-hmm. And then we're all sitting around the table and like, this has got to be talked about.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
At the church. Mm-hmm. And so Pastor Gary's like, I guess I'm going to be doing the series. And so he starts getting ready. We were talking about this beginning of the year, weren't we?
It was at
in spring.
Yeah, in springtime.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to be clear, Harbor Light has had the Bait of Satan classes offered in the past, and I know we've done multiple rounds on it.
Yeah.
But it was always a small group of people doing it. And this way, we're doing it church-wide.
Yeah. And I think it's been super helpful. I have not heard one person go, this is not relevant.
Right.
I think everybody, like we've talked about and the book talks about, everybody has been offended by something, right?
Mm-hmm. And it was really fun this weekend to have everyone that came up to me say, hey, were you talking to me?
Yeah, right.
Were you talking right to me? And I'm like, no, you're not that important, which of course then offended them a little bit more. So it was good.
No, you were not on my mind when I was writing this message. Yeah. And that's usually the way it works most of the time. Yeah. Like whatever you're sharing is not because of somebody that's in your head. You're just like, this is what
I've tried that in the past. When I first became a senior pastor, I'm like, I'm going to write this message for so and so. And you know what? They didn't show up that Sunday.
Yeah,
so
right.
It was always a miss.
It's like, come on, why weren't you here? This is so good. Just watch it online.
Life changing for you. Everybody else, C+, right?
Everybody's like, why is he talking about this? So. One of the questions that's raised in the chapter, and you did definitely deal with this on Sunday, is how does the feeling of betrayal impact us, and why is it so painful, especially when it comes from someone close to us? And then we get into the story of Joseph eventually, but why does things that happen by people that we thought were on our team hurt more than other people?
Well, the level of expectation is there. We talked about that even in week 1, where I expect a certain amount from the world.
Yeah.
And I expect a lot more from the people that are closest to me. And that gap between the world and the people that are closest to me, that's the level of offense.
Yeah.
And so when we do get hurt by those, there's a little proximity. I mean, you're spending more time with the people that are closest to you, so they're going to have more opportunity to be able to offend you.
Sure. Yeah.
But when their offense does come, it does seem to cut a little bit deeper because those are the people you expect to be in your corner.
Right. Yeah.
They're the ones that should have your back, and then when they're stabbing you in the back, then that's the offense that really takes place.
Yeah, and you talked about the issue. Well, trust is broken. Mm-hmm. So that's why that offense is so much more, and then the long-term effect of that.
Right.
With that, because you just can't, detach yourself from that situation. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's your spouse or somebody that's real close in your family, I mean, how are you going to walk away from that?
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point. That if there's a person that offends me, that maybe we have a shallow relationship, I can keep my distance. And then kind of minimize the pain. But it's a person who's really close to me. Now I can't keep myself away by distance, and so I have to create a high wall. Right. And so the gulf is you can still see across the gulf, but when you build a wall, you can't see the other person.
Yeah.
And so that's where then that wall that you're protecting yourself becomes a prison.
Yeah. And I think like what you mentioned, this issue, I think the week before about the issue of when we don't forgive, the bitterness creeps in and then becomes even a bigger problem of offense. Not only is it, what they said, now it's affecting me and all the levels of my life. So no longer can I really interact like I should as a believer. I'm using the filter now of bitterness and all these things that cause you more problems, which was interesting because then when you contrast it with Joseph later on in your message, Joseph had a lot of opportunities to do that, and he did not do it.
It was really fun to be able to put
Yeah.
that question up on the board. So does he have the right to be offended?
Yeah.
Does he have the right to be offended? I
Boy,
asked that
oh boy.
multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the answer is yeah.
Right.
He has the right to be offended,
Yeah.
but that's not what he's called to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting thing you bring, because as humans, that's our first response, to deal with the injustice in some form, and to at least alleviate how we feel justice should be served. And in Joseph's situation, quite a few times, he was put in that situation and he was not given justice.
Yeah.
And I think, I personally, as I read the story, I'm just being an average, human, I'd be ticked. I'd be like, come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
would you do this to me? I would be a little upset, I'd be probably mouthing off. I'd be, wouldn't be just in chains. They'd probably beat me every day for lipping off to him. But yeah, it's a lot to deal with. And for some reason, he was able to keep his head straight and not do what the rest of us probably would want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story for sure.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the responses. One of the things you brought up too about these betrayals and offenses. You kind of gave it to the congregation. Like, what would you do? How would you feel? And I think all of us would agree that there's a lot of anger and resentment that comes out of those situations where we feel like we've been hurt. And the offenses are still there and we have never dealt with them. So that resentment becomes really the foundation for our relationships with those people. And it's not a good thing. We've got a lot of people that have not dealt with their offenses.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're living in this idea of anger for that person. They don't want to deal with them. They don't talk to them.
Here's an interesting concept that many people, kind of going back to the Babylon news, when they don't understand the context of the Bible.
Yeah.
They see God lay out this formula saying eye for an eye, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that's still a formula people use today, right? I'm going to get back at you or whatever. God put that in place because people don't have restraint.
Yeah.
People don't just get revenge even with what they were taken. They always went above and beyond that. So he had to say, listen,
Here's the standard.
Here's the standard,
Yeah.
eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And so then I was able to bring that out this weekend, that look at the level of betrayal and hatred that the brothers had towards Joseph because he was the favored one. It went way past.
Sure.
They're willing to kill him,
Yeah.
starve him to death, and sell him into slavery.
Yeah.
That, they're violating that code that God had to put in place.
Yeah, and that gets to the point. I'm sorry, Ted.
No, go ahead.
That's what you just said. The desire, the revenge comes in.
Yeah.
Right? That was, you talked about this building of the feelings of these people, the brothers. And they go from, I don't like you, to I hate you, and now revenge creeps in.
Yeah.
And that's the response that goes well beyond what should be done.
Yeah. There's two things that I've been thinking about this week is, the first one being, who do I want to be and who am I called to be in the midst of offense? So when I experience it and it feels personal, right, and it feels like someone's going after my character or whatever, who am I called to be in the midst of that? And so, man, when we go after and we try to defend and we try to deflect and have every answer, but I do think there's some wisdom in being able to, for me personally, not respond and pray and seek wisdom and maybe some counsel from godly individuals who are going to keep it between me and them. That's maybe a better place for me to then respond rather than in the moment, because I know my flesh, right? So I'm not going to respond well. So I think that that part of who do I want to be and who am I called to be in the midst of that, I think in the end it's a disciple of Jesus, it's a leader, right? So we see Joseph really leading well. He's setting a standard for this is what it means to be a follower of our Messiah King, our Creator God.
And so a fun question to follow up with that statement then is how what's the thing that is happening in Joseph's heart that doesn't happen in mine or yours?
Yeah.
What was happening in his heart? What was the factor that allowed him to be able to forgive his brothers? The ultimate forgiveness. What do you feel it was?
I think it's the love of the Lord, right? I think it's because he knows and experiences his Creator in a really intimate way.
And so I will take what you've just said and just kind of wrap it in the term trust. His trust of God was greater than his offense.
Right.
Yeah.
And his trust of God allowed him then to say, look, I don't have to get even. I don't have to even the score
Yep.
because God will take care of that, and God's going to do that.
Right.
So his level of trust allowed him to be able to
Yeah.
have that level of forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's a super mature way of
man.
dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not necessarily a go-to for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we understand that God's going to deal with stuff, but it takes us a while to get to that point where we're like, okay, God, you're going to have to deal with this.
Right.
But the initial response is that we want to, we want justice to be served at some point.
Well, that was the other thing, this who do I want to be? And then the other part was I was just reminded of something that I heard, in the midst of major offense. And it was, you're never going to experience justice the way you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's never going
It's
to
always,
feel like
it'll always be empty.
exactly
but keep going. Yeah.
right. Like there is that sense of going, what I want to happen to you're wrong. You don't see this. It's never going to check all the boxes for me. But like Pastor Alex, you're saying, allowing God's justice to be the thing that we seek and ask him for that. That's a really good spot too, of like, who do I want to be? Well, I want to be somebody the Lord's calling me to be. I want to be somebody who's listening to the Holy Spirit. And I also need to keep, for me, that high value of my flesh wants justice. It's never going to feel full. It's always going to be an empty sense of justice if it's mine.
Yep, absolutely.
And we talked about in our small group too about the importance of the week before. We talked about this idea of forgiveness. I mean, it's one thing to say, God, you take care of it, but the other part is, your heart condition in that situation when you do say that.
Yeah.
Okay, God, you can have control of this, but I'm still waiting for my opportunity when I get a chance. Well, forgiveness says you got to let it go,
right,
and let God deal with it. And so you need to be in forgiveness. And we were talking about some really serious, situations of offense.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can live your life waiting for that opportunity and waste your life waiting for that opportunity,
right?
Or you can, let God deal with it and do what you need to do as you grow as a believer in Christ, because that's what you need to be doing anyways. Not spending all your time waiting for your moment, waiting in the shadows for something to happen.
Right.
A few of the things that are mentioned and that you mentioned on Sunday that begin to happen when we allow this to take hold of our life is spiritual stagnation or even regression, moving backwards in our faith journey. And some of the things that John Bevere talks about and Pastor Gary talked about on Sunday is that when we have bitterness get involved, it blocks the growth, whether we want to or not. I mean, we just will not move forward.
Yeah.
Because that will keep us in that moment forever.
You guys, we know people in our lives who got stuck because of an event. Mm-hmm. And I've been wondering about that. What's a good piece of advice, or what's something that if they're willing to listen, how do you get unstuck?
Well, let me begin by saying this, and I was going to bring this up this weekend. I've had a conversation with someone over the past couple of years. We'll say, let's say I've had 5 conversations with them, and in the midst of every one of those conversations, the same offense that they've experienced comes up. That's usually a dead ringer. You haven't dealt with it all the way.
Yeah.
When it's always default back to the same thing. So there's some people that feel like I don't have any offenses in life. I'm not being boxed in by anything. But then they listen to their own conversation, and it's always the same person who hurt me or the event that hurt me. That's usually an indicator that something's still there that needs to be dealt with. So I'll begin by just sharing that. I don't know if you want to pick up on.
No, I think you're right. I think it's totally right. You can pick that up right away. I mean, but that's also an indicator when you have it done, like when it's not the focus of your life.
Right.
You're not always.
It's not that the event never happened.
Right.
I like that when you look at Joseph's life. He's like, you meant this for evil.
Sure.
He's recognizing what happened.
Yeah. Right.
It's not like he's forgotten the event.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's saying it doesn't have its sting.
Right.
It hasn't hindered me, and so that's a good indicator that he's dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's the hard thing.
Yeah.
You just said it beautifully a couple minutes ago, Pastor Ted. That Christians sometimes we think, oh, I just got to gloss this over and it never happened.
Yeah,
but then we never deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. So finding that balance between, okay, let me get this out on the table. Let me talk through this thing. Let me get the healing I need inside, so that I'm able to forgive the other person.
Yeah.
We don't always do that step because that doesn't seem very godly. Very godly is just keep your mouth shut. The sheep going to the shearer. Right. That's not necessarily what's happening. So there is this little conflict that we have in Christianity with dealing with it versus ignoring it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus said, if you're coming to bring your offering and you have not dealt with offense or dealt with somebody you've hurt, don't bring your offering because it's not going to really do anything for you.
Yep.
Take care of those issues. And so, I mean, we need to go and at least say, that's not good.
Yeah.
What happened is not good.
Right.
I'm not like taking you to court. I'm not trying to get you before, the divine judge or whatever, but what you did was wrong. And I'm just letting you know that this was an offense. And I think just that one conversation is probably helpful more than anything else. It's interesting in AA, one of the first things they tell you, I think in the first 3 steps, is go make restitution either by act or by word. Yeah. And so the process, it really heals you as a human being more than anyone else, because you have to have that conversation and talk about the offense if it was, you made it against them. And I think in the Christian world, we kind of lose sight of that. Like you just said, we want to keep it quiet because we don't want to make it, make any waves or whatever. But you never deal with it. You never confess the issue as what it is and bring it out to the open, so it kind of stays silent.
And I do feel like, I'll probably bring this up this weekend, of course, dealing with it with God first.
Yeah.
Then allows you to deal with the other person. So if the other person takes offense to your offense or doesn't respond the way you're hoping for him, then your level of forgiveness isn't based on their response. Right. Yeah. And so you've got to take care of that first. And that might mean meeting with a counselor, meeting with a pastor, meeting with a small group leader, and talking through stuff and getting that restored in your heart first before you make that step. And then we all know that there are certain situations where going to that person to try to make things right is only going to make it worse.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
The book of Proverbs says, a man who has his heart hardened towards you, it's harder to win him than a city that has fortified walls.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Right? You better deal with it with God, and then let God deal with the other stuff. So this is a really complicated issue that we have to deal with in Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, and how do you know their heart is hardened? And are you, you could be quick to say, well, their heart's hardened, so I'm off the hook. You know what I mean? I don't have to have the conversation. So I do think, it's difficult, and you need to go to the Lord. I think that's perfect, Pastor Gary, of saying, the first thing that you do is that you're going to the Lord in this, because I do think, I know for me is, again, who do I want to be in it? Going to the Lord, I am going to have my heart softened the second I'm in front of Jesus for that person, because I know my faults and I know my brokenness. And so being able to kind of be reminded of Jesus's grace in my life and how important and big that is going to help me have some empathy towards the person that I'm ticked off at.
Yeah.
And that's a good part, because it leads to the fact that, one of the things that happens when we allow this to happen in our life, the offense take root, is that we lose our purpose. Yeah. And we talk about this a lot in church, about having our purpose and destiny and understanding it. When you're always focused on this offense, you no longer are doing the thing that matters most, which is to be what God's called you to be. And so the purpose that God's placed in your heart gets put on hold, right? You're taking an off-ramp onto this problem, and that's what you spend your time doing. And, thinking about Joseph, I mean, if he would have focused on those things, there's probably a good chance he probably would never got out of the jail.
Right.
He probably would have.
for sure.
Never got out of slavery. All these things that came into his life, but he kept his eyes on what he needed to do. And I think that is harder than it sounds. I mean, because obviously when you get hurt, and you've been hurt many times, to keep your eyes on the purpose that God's called you to is difficult.
Yep.
But the maturity that happens, the growth that happens in those moments, you can't put a price on that,
right?
Because if you can learn from it, move on from it, and continue forward, you're becoming the person that God can use in many, many situations. Yeah.
Well, and obviously God did, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the eye on the prize kind of moment of going, man, in the process, God's working on you, because he's got something far greater for you to do than stay in the mud.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then for those listeners that are out there that maybe the person who has offended them or hurt them, who that person has, went on, has died, how do you deal with that? Well, we teach the open chair, where you get in that empty chair and then you speak to that empty chair and offer the forgiveness, which is unlocking your heart, of course.
You're able to
write
express
that person a letter, that even though they're not alive anymore to receive the letter.
Good.
It's a very biblical thing, because we read over and over again, our mouth has this really mysterious power of helping us navigate where we need to go. And if you're not confessing or saying it,
that's where the declarations have been so popular. I've had a number of people who are in recovery. They're like, you got to get get those on a piece of paper. I need those. I need to say them every day.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good idea. We're running out of time, but I want to talk about some practical steps for overcoming this trap of offense and betrayal. John Bevere and Pastor Gary talked about this. The first thing, we obviously acknowledge the offense. We don't pretend like it didn't happen. We choose forgiveness. And that's something, again, we just talked about. It's a joint operation between God and you first, and then we can talk to that person. Trust God for justice, and then if it is possible, seek reconciliation above all. I mean, it's very obvious in Scripture. Paul talked about this a lot, about reconciliation being a very important part of our growth. And, if it is possible, try to have it happen. I mean, obviously, there are going to be moments where people are not going to want to. But if you keep the door open, right, you are available. God's grace and mercy can work through that. And sometimes those people can come back. They can realize the mistakes that they're in and move forward and make themselves better.
So if I could, just for the last closing seconds here, from a pastor standpoint, and I don't know how many times you've preached on this passage, and I know probably Pastor Alex has preached on it multiple times, I had a super amount of fun recognizing the 3 robes from the story.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
The robe of preference, the robe of accusation, the robe of fulfillment. That was really fun to be able to see that thread through the whole story.
That was cool.
And I had never seen that before until this particular
I didn't
time.
either. When you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
That was a lot of fun. Well, I just want to say, again, please come out and be a part of the next series, or the next part of the series. We're going to talk about forgiveness, which you guys have helped me out already today. I'm going to go back and re-listen to this. Of course, Pastor Ted just celebrated a birthday.
Yes, he did.
And so we got a chance to sing to him the praise and worship version of Happy Birthday.
That's right. And he's 67.
Nailed
He's 67.
Okay.
The song was 7 minutes.
Yeah, right. We repeated the verse, and then we had a false ending, and then we came back.
Somebody wanted a key change in there. I remember that one.
Yeah, we didn't do the key change. We just weren't feeling up to it. But
I appreciate
67.
And then, of course, Pastor Alex and Pastor Amy just celebrated their wedding anniversary.
29 years.
29 years. So if you guys happen to see these two out and about, make sure you love on them a little bit. Do what Joseph did with his brothers. I love this. One of my favorite things. He threw himself on them.
Yeah, right.
So just go ahead and throw yourself on these.
Hold on.
Make Pastor Alex feel uncomfortable. Just wrap your arms around him.
Whoa, boy.
Probably plant a big wet kiss on his cheek would be good.
Oh, my gosh.
That's great.
I think it's so funny. Joe Lassier, he thinks it's funny to come up to me and go, boy, you're looking pretty good today.
Yeah.
He does it to me. And I wore this vest last Sunday, and he goes, you look like a man today.
So let me talk. Let's talk about man hugs just for a second, okay? Just man hugs for a second. Brian Garber, has been a close friend of mine. I was his youth pastor for a long, long time, and then once he finally was able to grow out some facial hair, we started giving each other neck hugs, where you rub your facial stubble on the other guy's neck. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it sounds
very uncomfortable. So give it a try sometime.
I might have to work up to that.
Yeah,
I have to work up to that. Ted,
I'm gonna come home and you'll see me tomorrow, and I'll be shaved.
I'm
not doing that.
Neck hugs are for real men.
That's only for men.
Real men.
Only real men. Yeah, real men. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have fun this week. Do something amazing and enjoy your life and enjoy these things. And don't hold on to offenses.
Yeah.
Let them go.
Yeah.
Don't be offended all the time. And please, if you have to deal with something, let God begin to work in your heart. So we'll be back next week. I think all of us will be here.
All right.
I don't think any of us are going anywhere.
No.
No?
I'm here.
I'm sorry, guys. We're at the end of the year, and I've got a lot of vacation time that needs to
he's got to use it.
I'll be in and out a bunch.
Got to do
Use it up. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission. Now.